For the last couple of years, neverlose has been one of the top cheats for Counter-Strike. Unlike other cheats, which were popular in CSGO, but then fell off or died in the last few years, neverlose is still around and is still one of the best cheats for HvH. Back in 2018, neverlose was first introduced, but it was originally a private cheat for Apex Legends. Then, in 2019, the Apex cheat was abandoned and CSGO became the new focus. Neverlose started out as a private cheat, which meant you needed an invite in order to buy it. The reason it was private was to not give the illusion of it being some exclusive elite cheat. It was because Neverlose staff didn't feel it was ready to be public. It was still getting regular daily updates. It was essentially just in beta testing until it was ready to be fully released. It wasn't really that hard to get an invite. You could also fill out an application instead of getting invited, which just included the standard basic questions that most cheat applications have. By 2020, neverlose was one of the best HvH cheats in CSGO. Neverlose costed €20 a month, which was nearly the same as every other rage cheat. A lot of people were desperate to get invited to neverlose, but luckily, all their prayers would soon be answered. In early 2021, neverlose decided to go public. By the time it went public, it had around 2,000 users. A lot of people were really happy since their application was either rejected or they just couldn't get an invite. Now that it was public to everyone, it meant more competition in the HvH scene, which is always a good thing, since competition is the only thing that makes cheat providers have to work harder and not get complacent. OneTap had the majority of the pay-to-cheat users, since every other cheat was either private or really bad like Aimware. Cheats like Skate, Fatality, Nemesis, or Evolve were all invite-only, so for most people, they weren't even options. Although neverlose going public did have its fair share of people getting upset over it, some neverlose users were upset because they could no longer flex owning a private cheat, which of course is very important. The menu of neverlose has always looked roughly the same, but it has improved a lot from the original V1 menu. It's maintained its blue theme, but of course, you could change the colors of the menu if you wanted to. Configuring was pretty simple and not hard to get the hang of after a while. Sharing neverlose configs was very easy, since configs were saved and shared over cloud, which meant not only it was extremely easy to share configs, it was also extremely easy to sell configs. Unlike other cheats where you have to send an individual text file and use some third-party website, neverlose instead let you share the link and sell your config directly and automatically. Since neverlose had made the selling config process painstakingly easy, it became very popular to sell configs. Hundreds, if not thousands of people were now selling their configs. Most people either didn't know how to config, or they just couldn't be bothered, so instead they'd rather pay a couple $100s to hopefully buy a good config. Although configs weren't the only thing people were selling, people also sold Luas at an alarming rate. Everyone was selling their own exclusive Lua to the masses. Every day, a new Lua would pop up and claim to be the best Lua ever. There was tons of anti-aim or resolver Luas. While some were definitely placebo and didn't actually do anything, a lot of the private Luas were actually really effective. Neverlose had a lot of talented Lua devs who actually made some good and interesting Luas. Of course, there were also a lot of vanity Luas, which added all sorts of fun features and gimmicks. Even though neverlose was an HvH cheat, it did have a legit bot, which wasn't that great, but I mean, it was there. It was as bare bones as could be, but that wasn't surprising considering most legit bots in HvH cheats are rarely ever good. In the summer of 2021, neverlose was detected, along with almost every other rage cheat. This was one of the biggest ban waves CSGO ever had. From this point, neverlose wasn't safe to use on any decent account. Although, if you had thought it was safe even before the ban wave, you had bigger problems. This was also when Valve stopped issuing ban waves and just made cheats give you red trust factor. Neverlose is a unique cheat because unlike other cheats, which usually only have 1 or 2 devs, neverlose has a bunch. In fact, over the years, neverlose has only gotten more staff members and help. The main dev for the rage bot has always been Sophie. The rest of them are Darth, A47, A Vitoman, Raindot, Paqueta, and Pro Player. There's also neverlose nightly for the more trusted users. Nightly is basically what other cheats would call beta testers, although nightly would be more of an alpha than a beta, since often the builds can be broken or buggy. Since neverlose staff are all Russian, they typically only allow Russians to become a nightly user. For years now, there's been a weird, almost stan-like behavior that a lot of HvHers have towards cheats. There's this strange, undying loyalty a lot of HvHers have, where they feel as if the cheat they're using is a part of their identity, and they must defend their honor at all cost. It's prevalent with every cheat, but neverlose and GameSense users both have this obsession towards insulting the other side. Behind the scenes, there's no real rivalry going on with the two cheats, but everyone seems to think they hate each other, and it doesn't help that even the staff of GameSense constantly fan the flames. At the end of the day, they're just video game cheats, and you're allowed to use whichever cheat you prefer or you think is best. As I said earlier, competition is a good thing, and you want every cheat to be as good as they can be. Plus, everyone using the same cheat gets boring. Having a variety of viable cheats is good for the player base. So yeah, if you're a neverlose user, there's really no need to install other cheats. Same applies vice versa. I know right now there's some kid typing in the comments that neverlose is pasted because even Sophie admitted to being a fan of Esoteric's work. So he's clearly just a big paster. Am I right? No, you're not. Every single cheat dev has pasted in the past. Even Esoteric pasted from Aimware dumps. People seem to think if a cheat isn't 100% self-coded, it's a paste. If that was the case, every single cheat would be a paste. And why is it even a bad thing to compliment another dev's work? Anyway, when CS2 came out, it was a brand new game with a brand new engine. For the first few months, cheats were very bare bones and had hardly any features. Almost none of them had a skin changer, or night mode, or chams, or glow. Neverlose was the first cheat that came out which had a proper release. Some cheats rushed to release the CS2 version and they were very disappointing, and others took over 6 months. Neverlose came out swinging and it easily destroyed the scene. No cheat stood a chance against Neverlose. It wasn't even close. Neverlose was unstoppable during this time, and even at the now increased €30 a month price tag, it didn't stop people from buying it because it was just that good and amazing. Especially with the fun exploits it had like Magic Bullet or Rapid Fire. In the last couple of months, Neverlose has definitely fallen behind. It's no longer the best HvH cheat anymore, but it's still at least in the top 3. It hasn't had a major update in months, and it still doesn't have a lot of the features they said they were going to add. The good news is, they have announced that sometime in January, Neverlose will have an extremely big update, and tons of things will be improved, and a lot of things will be added. So while it may not be in the best state right now, I'm sure they're cooking up some magic, and it'll be back on top.